Hello, friends. Welcome back to Faytene TV. Well, first weekend of September 2025, something absolutely epic, and I'd go so far as to say historic, happened here in the nation of Canada, specifically Drayton Valley, Alberta, when thousands of Canadians from several different provinces gathered together with very, very short notice for a few nights of worship, prayer, and hearing the word of God. It was an absolute flashpoint of revival in our nation right now. Well, joining us today are the two men that banded together to pull this off in the grace of God. None other than Sammy Robinson of the Voice of Revival and Steve Holmstrom. He's known as the Oil Patch Pulpit Preacher online and also the director of something called The Altar. This time is going to be so encouraging. Please stick with us for the entire show and be sure to share this one with any of your friends that need encouragement. Great things are happening in Canada.
Okay, well, I've got Steve Holmstrom and Sammy Robinson. Now, I wanted to start by saying this. These images of what just happened in Drayton Valley, the videos are pretty much going viral on the internet. Last I heard, Sammy, you mentioned that one of your videos was up to 40,000 views, a part of the worship. People are asking this question, what just happened in Drayton Valley?
It was thousands and thousands of people worshiping the Lord outside under the open sky. And the presence of the Lord showed up, and people were touched. People were changed. I mean, thousands of people responded to give their lives to Christ or to rededicate their lives to the Lord. And it was something that you had to be there. It was just the presence of the Lord was powerful out there in that field.
Now, this was, as I understand it, a convergence event with both of your ministries. When you went to the website, you would see the altar logo, but you also saw Voice of Revival. So tell us how this whole thing came about. Was this Sammy's idea, Steve's idea, one of your wives? Like, how did you?
Sammy, it was all Sammy's fault. Sammy, you can tell that story.
Oh, man. Well, Faytene, I just finished a conference in Sylvan Lake. I know this is going to sound so unique here, but I was out with the family. We're just about to go on vacation. Here I am in the ice cream shop. My kids are getting ice cream. This thought comes, I need to text Dr. Rodney Howard-Browne and invite him to come to Canada. And I'm thinking, come on, like, I'm like, is this the Lord? Is it not? And so I texted him. I said, sir, I don't know if you know what's going on in our nation, but I believe there's an awakening. People are getting rising up in this time. I said, would you pray about coming to Canada for a strategic gathering at the end of August, beginning of September? And literally, you guys, less than 30 seconds later, I get a phone call. It's Dr. Rodney Howard-Browne. And I'm thinking, oh, this is actually happening. Like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And so I take the call. Kristen comes over and was like, hey, I got the kids ice cream. I said, Dr. Rodney's on the phone. She's like, you probably should take that. And so I go and I talk to him and I say, sir, I said, I know I just texted you this about coming to Canada. I really believe it's time. And he said, Sammy, you're not going to believe this, but I was just praying for Canada just before you texted. And then as we started talking about, where to host it, and I had offered, I said, hey, would you like to, us to host this in a baseball diamond? Would you like to host this in a stadium? Would you like us to host it in Edmonton or Calgary? And the whole time he's like, no, I don't feel it. Don't feel it. And he's like, at the very end of the conversation, he goes, but I see something in the spirit. I see a field and a stage. And I go, a field and a stage, like Faytene. I'm thinking, what in the world? A field and a stage? Not, I'm like, who has a field and a stage big enough for something like this? Then the thought came, I need to talk to my friend, Steve Holmstrom. And I got to say this, when I phoned up Steve and you and Cara, I just want to honor you guys again, your faith, Steve, you and your wife, when I said, hey, this was 35 days before the event, Faytene, like 35 days. I said, hey, there's an opportunity to bring Dr. Rodney Howard-Browne and to host it in Drayton Valley at your spot there at the altar. And I remember, Steve, just you're like, no, we need to do this. I'm going to talk to my wife. She felt it too. And you both said yes. Steve, you sent me a video of the field. I sent it to Dr. Rodney, and he literally goes, this is it. This is what I saw in the vision. This is the place where God wants us to host these meetings. And I believe it's going to be, he said, I believe it's going to be strategic for the nation. And then out of that, Steve, I want to hand this over to you. And so, because like, you know, we got this thing going, things started. I don't know about you. I didn't think all of these people were just going to show up. Registration blew up.
I want to catch some of our viewers might not know the story of this field and how incredibly profound this is, because years ago, when I say years ago, like, you know, I think 4 or 5, you used to have these regular gatherings. You know, you'd have 1,000, 2,000 people that would come out in the summers to worship, but your field got hit with fire. And just give us a quick catch up on that story, because correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, this was the first real major gathering since your entire property was hit with this fire. Is that right?
Only gathering since.
The only
gathering.
Oh.
2020, I was driving down the highway and I was passing this property. I heard the Lord say, if you buy me that, I'll meet you there. I'm like, that? And I looked, I hadn't even noticed it. This quarter section wasn't even for sale. So I phoned I pulled over. I found a little sign with a phone number on it. It was the owner's number. I called him up. I said, how big is this field, or this property? He said, it's a whole quarter section. I said, have you thought about selling it? Is it for sale? And he said, oh, everything's for sale. Don't you know that? You know, and so the negotiation began. Well, nobody pays more than 350, 400 grand for a quarter around Drayton Valley. He wanted like close to like over 600,000. And I kept negotiating him, and I got him down to I had him down to almost 6, which still seemed too much. And then I get a call from this prophet that I know. I won't blame this one on Sammy. It wasn't Sammy this time. Usually it is. But this prophet calls me and says, I heard the word of the Lord for you, Steve. This property you're looking at? I'm like, yeah. The Lord told me you're supposed to pay this guy. Well, he wants to honor this man. You're supposed to give him 700,000. Like, I don't even have 600. You got an extra 100? But I trust this prophet. I've walked with this person for decades. So on the word of the Lord, I told him, I said, I guess I have a friend, you know, who says he's a prophet. And he's like, what? I said, they say I'm supposed to give you a 700. And he's like, oh, I like your friend. We bought this property, but I had no choice. I had to buy it because the Lord said, if you meet me there, I'll meet you. I'll meet you there. If you buy me that, I'll meet you there. So we bought this property. I went out into the trees, carved a big hole in the trees. We built a stage. And I said, who will come worship with me in the woods? 350 people came to the first gathering, and the presence of the Lord filled the place. People were healed. People were saved. People were weeping and didn't know why. The presence of the Lord was so powerful. So we planned a second gathering. They all came back and brought a friend because we had 700 people at the next gathering for the whole weekend. Again, RVs, tents, motorhomes. And the presence of the Lord fell, and people are getting healed. People got healed of cancer on this land, like lung cancer, all sorts of stuff. So we plan a third gathering. 2,000 people show up at the third gathering. Now we're like, I've never seen that many people in the woods, you know? And they're all tents, motorhomes, RVs. It was just wild. The presence of the Lord fills the place. And so then we planned a fourth gathering the next summer. But before the gathering happened on May 5th, we had a fire and it burnt the quarter section. And miraculously, it's a long story, but miraculously, all the trees on the outside, they survived. The Lord just protected those trees. So if you drive up, you wouldn't think there was a fire. It's beautiful. But as soon as you get past this prayer cabin where I spend about 30 hours a week with Jesus, the fire was 8 feet from this cabin, but it didn't burn my cabin. But the back forest totally destroyed. And so it was quite devastating for my wife and I. we spent the next few years that we had to clean up all these burnt trees. And so there was 3 years where we had no gatherings, and we still kept getting emails from people all the time. When are you going to have another gathering? Because everybody wants to come back, you know? And so we had no gatherings for 3 years. And then Sammy calls me up and says, no, he texted me. He's like, Steve, is it all right if I give you Rodney Howard Brown your personal cell number? And I'm like, yes, Sammy, you can give Rodney Howard Brown my cell number. If it was anyone else, no, but yes, you can give it to him. And he phoned me and he said, I saw the picture. I saw the video. He said, we have to do it there. And so literally we had 35 days. Now I knew we'd hit 3,000 or 4,000 because it always doubles. Every gathering has doubled. But when you add Rodney Howard Brown to the mix, that's when registration hit 7,500 people. And like I said, I don't know how many were there. I think it was more like 6,000. I don't like to exaggerate numbers, but it was just outrageous. And but you know what? We had 35 days. I had people showing up, putting in culverts because we couldn't get to the backfield where we needed, because we didn't have enough room in our old spot to put 6,000 people. So we had to put in culverts, and people just showed up and served, and we built culverts here and there and buried gravel. And 35 days, we transformed this property so that you could drive anywhere from this field to that. And we could have thousands of people in tents and RVs and motorhomes. Like Tent City was thousands of people sleeping in tents. And everything was accessible. But God brought people. Even a guy who just showed up one day and said, I'm here to serve. I said, do you know how to drive a tractor? He's like, yep. I put him in a tractor mowing fields for the next week, mowing fields so people would have a place to park. But God brought the people, and it happened.
I think people hear your stories, particularly maybe people that aren't people of faith or aren't a part of the Pentecostal charismatic movement. And they hear you talking about things like God said or a prophet told me. And honestly, Steve, like some people hear this language and they think it's just nutcake language. You know what I mean? And yet the proof is in the pudding, right? Like so you could say that. And if nothing happened, then, maybe those people would have something to say. But I remember you sharing that story. If you buy this, I will meet you there. And, you didn't have a sense of the numbers. It wasn't like, you had this sense that it was going to be 6,000, 7,000 people within a few years, but you just took that step of audacious faith that, in the natural, we might call that an entrepreneurial spirit. You just went for it. You put all your chips forward. And yet down the line, it proves out to be an accurate discernment. All these people coming before we went live, I remember you said that, some people were coming because of Rodney. They knew his name, but a lot of people were just coming because of hunger. Obviously, there was an anticipation because you hadn't met for 3 years, a hunger to gather again. But I want to speak to this hunger piece and what was actually happening in the hearts of the Canadians that gathered, because you look all across Canada right now and you see so much devastation, you see so much anger, so much despair, so much trepidation about the future. And then this flashpoint of hope hits in Drayton Valley. What did you see happening in the hearts of the people over those 24, 48 hours? Either one of you can answer that.
Well, I could say it's funny, even my neighbor, who's a wonderful man, but I mean, when you have a neighbor who moves in and then thousands of people show up, that's scary, for any neighbor, and why are all these people coming? But my neighbor the other day, before the gathering, he had saw online that we had thousands coming, and he said, can I just ask you a question, Steve? And I said, of course, anything, and he said, church pews are empty. Like, nobody goes to church anymore. Everyone I know who goes to church, they're just empty. He said, I see license plates from Ontario all over Drayton, Manitoba. Why in the world are people, thousands and thousands of people coming from all over the nation to visit you in a field? And I said, do you want to know the real reason? He's like, yes. Like, why on earth are they coming? And I said, because the Lord is here. And people are encountering the Lord. And I said, many people think God's mad at them. Many people think that God's, disinterested. But you know what? When you come into a place where the presence of God is, you discover he likes you. He even loves you. He's not counting your sins against you. He's got his arms wide open. And I said, people come because they know they'll encounter the presence of the Lord and miracles happen and healings happen. And I said, maybe you should come over and check it out. And he said, maybe. He says, let me think about that. I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to come into the cloud yet. But you know what? Where there are hungry, praying people who worship God with sincerity, the presence of the Lord comes. And when people come into that presence, they encounter God.
How many people did you baptize? 400?
There's over 400 people got baptized at this gathering. I was in the tub for 3.5 hours. My fingers were like, should have seen me, like the wrinkly fingers, from. And I was only giving them 15 seconds each. I'm like, you in? I asked them their name, baptized you, and you're out. It was like boom, boom, boom. It was over 3 hours.
Well, I'm going to go back to this because I can't shake this idea. I feel like there are people that were there, or people that were impacted by it, that have stories to tell. And so I hate to do this to you, Steve. I'm going to give your team a little bit of work here. What's the email that people can email testimonies to? If they were
Our website that you can go on to is The Altar, spelled ALTAR, thealtar.ca. Come on. Plus, you can watch videos, this and that. But you can also email me feedback@oilpatchpulpit.com. Oilpatchpulpit.com. And we love to hear the testimonies. And we use them to build other people's faith. So if you got healed at this gathering or anything like that, please do tell us, because I love to tell those stories, because when other people hear them, it gives them faith for their healing. And it's all about faith. And so stories are so important.
Here at Faytene TV, we are committed to serving you by bringing topics and guests that you will rarely see on mainstream media. Topics such as freedom of speech and conscience, updates on controversial items like medical assistance in dying, the sanctity of life, human trafficking, respecting parents, and more. We're also committed to featuring ways that we can all give back to our communities as an expression of our faith to build a better Canada for the future. We love this nation and want to ensure that we leave it better off for the sake of future generations. But we can't do it without your help. If you would like to see more programs produced on topics that matter to us all, please visit Faytene.tv or call us at 1-866-844-0844 to donate today or become a monthly partner. Your support makes a real difference and helps us keep going strong. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Sammy, what were you observing? You mentioned about the next generation and how many of them came.
I think there's a couple things, when we talk about, we know it's not about crowd size here, but if I could just say this, the town of Drayton Valley, if I'm not mistaken, Steve, is what, 7,500 approximately?
Yeah.
And almost the same amount of people came to Drayton Valley. Guys, this wasn't in Edmonton, this wasn't in Calgary. People found whatever hotel, whatever avenue to get there. And I think what just so moved my heart is seeing the next generation like wanting to give everything to Jesus. I think on that last night, like Steve, we were kind of talking about this, like none of the kids wanted to go home. They wanted to worship Jesus all night. They wanted to give him everything. And sometimes I think we wonder as Canadians, like, how's it going with the next generation? And what is God doing? I can tell you this right now, is that there is an on fire group of next generation young people that are really going after Jesus. And to see that, and to see, again, people of all ages worshiping the Lord from every province. Like, I met leaders from Newfoundland. I met leaders from, the territories, and to see people coming together like this for one purpose. This was bigger than just a speaker. They were coming to encounter God, believing God for revival in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could not have pulled this off with marketing alone. Like we've all done events before, and again, Sammy and I were talking before we went live. I think the only comparable event that I can recall in my entire lifetime, and I've been a Christian for 30 years now in Canada, and the only other event that I can compare it to is maybe some of the youth conferences that we've seen in the GTA. But those take a year of organizing. People are bringing buses in of their young people. They're planning it out. This was pulled together in 35 days. It's a historic event. It's a historic moment. And
I'll tell you the key. It's the intercessors.
talk about that.
Yeah.
You get thousands of people all pointing their spiritual guns at the same target, and it just blows that target out of the water. And what I saw, and people coming up to me thanking me like I did this, I'm like, I promise you, I had very little to do with this. This is the result. What you feel, the presence, the power, the souls, the healings. This is the result of thousands of intercessors who are praying and focusing their prayer for weeks. And many intercessors don't even realize how powerful their prayers are, because we all pray prayers that don't feel powerful. We just pray, dear God, please bless Faytene. Please, God, protect this gathering. Dear God, please give them good weather. It doesn't feel that powerful. You're just saying words to God. But when thousands of people do it, powerful things happen. We had perfect weather for 2 weeks leading up to this gathering. Had we had rain, we would have been dragging 4,000 cars through the mud with tractors. You can't have that without the grace of God. And it happened because thousands of people prayed. And if you're not on the Canadian firewall, join us, because we want 10,000 more.
Incredible. And we'll put that up on the screen here. I know one of the things that's probably going through a lot of people's minds that are watching this is like, what's next? Or people that are feeling like they missed out and they're like, oh, I want to be there next time.
There's certain things that are going on, these strategic events where he's truly equipping the church for this season. And I feel like we're in that time where, listen, Canada is called for revival. We're going to see revival. I really do believe we're going to see revival in our nation. The intercessors have been praying for this. People have sowed with tears, and I believe that we're going to reap with joy. And so I was also saying to Steve, we got to get some business leaders on board with what's going on at the altar, because I think there's going to be way more stuff across the nation. These types of gatherings, the altar type gatherings, where thousands are coming out and thousands getting saved. And so I feel like we're in that time where God is strategically bringing us together and equipping us for this end time harvest. It's awesome.
Right now, what I hear for me is I need to focus on really investing in intercessors. But the second area that we're focusing, like you say, Sammy, is business leaders. I want to see business leaders burning for Jesus, prospering, because if we're going to have a revival that's going to turn a nation upside down, it's going to take billions of dollars. And if we're going to have a prayer movement that's going to, you can't have revival without a great prayer movement, and you can't have a great prayer movement without finances. It costs money. And so we're really focusing on investing in business leaders and investing in intercessors. And I think as the intercessor prayer level rises and as business leaders get a vision for revival, what you're going to see is the finances will be released as well, so that we can get those stadiums and do these national events.
Wow. Well, this is so inspiring. And I'm just so grateful, and I'm sure I'm probably articulating what a lot of people are feeling right now as they're listening to both of you. Just so grateful for your humility, for your servant heart, for your love for Canada, for your audacious faith. And even what you just said there, Steve, that you're not going to try to replicate something. You just want to be faithful and stay in that place. That's just so beautiful, so powerful. And I hope you'll get some of those intercessors pointing their prayers at the National Day of Prayer for 2026. So I'll put a shameless plug in for that, because we've got our sights set on that. That'll be July the 11th, 2026. And all of these things are a beautiful braiding, right, of what the Lord is doing with leaders in Canada. There's a unity, there's a mutual respect, a synergy. You know, there's so much negative news out there, but if there's one takeaway I have from watching what happened in Drayton Valley this past weekend is that there's more good news happening out there than what we might be aware of. There's so much to be thankful for and to be celebrating and getting behind. Is there any final word of exhortation that you have for those from across the nation that are watching this conversation?
Give them a word, Sammy.
You know what I feel, though? I do have a word right now. The word is what we just started with, is hope. And to everyone that's watching, listen, I believe there's incredible hope for our nation. I believe we're in a season right now where God is doing something so incredible. It's beyond what we can think or imagine. And I want to say to those today that maybe have felt like they've lost hope, I believe that hearing these stories and hearing the testimonies of what God's doing, there's an impartation of fresh hope to believe, like David said, I would have fainted or I would have given up had I not believed I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Guys, we're about to see, I truly believe with all my heart, the goodness of the Lord in Canada like we have not seen before. And so our best days are ahead of us, not behind us. And I just know, to those that are watching, your prayers have been heard by heaven. And I believe we're about to see even more manifestation of those prayers.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for joining, guys. This has been so inspiring. And on that note, let's show some more photos and videos from what just happened in Drayton Valley.
Canada is going to be shaken. Every city, every town, every province is going to shake under the hand of God. God is not done with Canada. Father, let the church of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the Son of the living God, let them arise.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you were encouraged by this incredible testimony of what the Lord did in early September in Drayton Valley, Alberta. Hopefully a sign of many more moments like this to come. Well, if you appreciated today's show, you'd like to see more programming like this aired across our nation, we would sure appreciate your support. Every donation makes a huge difference, and it's our regular donors and our monthly partners that keep us at it every single week. To give securely online, just swing by our website at faytene.tv, or you can also give our team a call over the phone, 1-866-844-0844, where you can give a donation, but you can also receive prayer. Our team is there to serve you prayerfully, answer any question you have about the Christian faith or any question you have about any of the topics that we discuss on our television shows. If you want to watch this program again and share it with your friends and loved ones, simply swing by our website, faytene.tv, or by our YouTube channel where you can easily find it. Thanks so much for your time. Hope you were encouraged and hope to see you next week.